episode of Motorcycle Track Day Noob. Some more off-season maintenance. I'm going to be looking at the brakes. Mainly the front brakes in this episode, but I did just decide to pull off the rear brake, and I wasn't certain that I was actually going to do it because I don't want to keep relying on the rear brake because I rely too much on the rear brake, but it just kind of got to me. I need to pull this thing off and look at it, clean the pistons up and whatnot. Really glad I did. So I just got the caliper off, and what I found is alarming. It's pretty corroded, everything. If I take a look, the pistons are bad, but the alarming thing is these are the brake pads. That's the amount of material left on one of them. That is metal on metal, ground right in. And this is what I was using myself to slow down with. So I don't have any new pads for that, but it's about time to do it. I know the front pads have life on them because I checked them, but that's pretty terrifying. So I have a full set of, well, let's see, almost a full set. Seals and everything for the front brakes, new pads for the front brakes, master cylinder, front rebuild kit, and I have 2 new pistons. Brakecrafters, they only actually had 2 of the pistons available in the kits for the rebuild, so I figure I'm going to find whichever of the worst 2 and replace them. We'll do that. We'll get those things off. I'm going to start to clean this thing up a bit first, get that going, but kind of terrifying. Going to get some of these ordered. Well, what do we got here? I pulled the pistons out of the calipers, and they don't look good. Well, it doesn't look good inside of there. That is a lot of sludge and buildup and crap from the last 20 years, so I'm going to be needing to buy a new set of seals. Looking at the pistons, I actually think I'm going to be able to clean these up. I don't see any like actual rust pivoting in them. I think this is just dirt and grime on both of them. That's going to be able to come off, so I'm not going to, don't think yet. I'm going to, I'll make a decision after I run them through and clean them up, but I don't think I'm going to have to replace these. I am going to have to go through, clean everything, pull those old seals out. I'm just going to toss them. It's it looks too shitty to just chance it on that, so I think I can get a new set of seals here for 55 bucks, and that's what I'm going to do with a new set of pads. That'd be the best idea, and now I can actually get working on the front after I throw those little buggers into the ultrasonic. All right, it's time for a dip. Wiped most of the big parts of the sludge off. Put some warm water in here. It's at like 44°C, probably go up to about 48°C by the time this is done. 23 minutes in, a little bit of, well, some water and a little bit of simple green concentrate. So we'll see how this goes. Leave her there. And okay, heat on. 23 minutes. Check on you later. Here's the rear brake caliper pieces cleaned up. They cleaned up pretty darn good. I think this would be alright. There's actually a chance that if I wanted to try to reuse the rubber seals and everything, I could probably get this back together and working without waiting and spending more money on it, but I think the right thing to do is to just buy those seals. These pistons look like they'll be fine. There's nothing major on the pitting or anything like that, so I think the rear, outside of not having the new seals yet in the reassembly, I think I'm good with it for now, so I'm going to box this stuff up until I get those parts. I made a bit of a mess on the other side doing the first one, so that's why I cover everything in paper towels because the brake fluid's corrosive and it'll eat up the paint. So I got these 2 loosened. I'm going to loosen up the banjo here, and then I'm going to start to get fluid coming down. So I just got the brake line tied up top, and then I'm going to take these 2 14s out, the caliper mounting bolts, and I should be able to pull this thing off. These things are only, oh god, I'm an idiot. These things are only 2-pot, so a lot easier than, say, a 4-pot one. They don't have nearly the stopping power of a 4-pot one, but easier to do maintenance on. So I gave up just a little bit ago on trying to make this a informal how-to video. It's not going to be a how-to video at all. I'm just going to do the brakes because how-to videos are supposed to be clear and concise, and the person is supposed to be able to explain it very simply and clearly what they're doing. I know what I'm trying to do, I'm just not very good at being able to explain that when I'm working on brakes. So instead, I'm just going to pull the piston out, show you the state of these calipers and pistons, and actually experience it with you at the exact same time, because I haven't seen this one yet. That one looks better. A whole lot of gunk in there, and this is what the other one looked like. So not nearly as bad as the back, but these are going to get cleaned up. I'm going to find the worst of the 2 pistons, and again, I don't think I'm going to have too much issue with these pistons, but I do have full set. Now I should take a look at this to see everything that I'm replacing. This is a full set of all the seals and everything, and I've got 2 pistons as replacements. Apparently I got 2 nice little pink packing peanuts as well. I've got new crush washers that came off of these, so I'll toss those. Old ones, new bleeders. Red rubber grease came in all of those. I actually got my whole thing because that stuff's super useful. And then this is just a seal kit because I couldn't find another one with pistons, but it doesn't look like I'm going to actually need them. And then a front brake master cylinder rebuild kit. That's what I'm going to be working on now. I'm going to pull the seals out of these, give these the same treatment in the ultrasonic, clean them up like the rear, and I think these will be easier than the rear was. Alright, so I've run the front calipers through, and I decided I'm going to split this job into 2 different nights, but I was thinking everything looked pretty good, and now I'm seeing inside of the dust seal area, I need to get in there with a pick. Pistons, for the most part, all look like they're pretty good. It's going to be tough to pick the worst 2, but I will probably just pick one, either the left or the right, and replace the 2, and then when I get a chance next time, if it ever needs it, I'll replace the other 2. I was looking at the old pads. These are the old pads out. I've got new Vestra RJLs to throw in, and these are left sides, and unlike the rears, these have plenty of tread on them still. I don't think it makes sense for me to replace these yet, despite the fact that I'm already in here, and maybe you should just replace things while you're in there. It's not very difficult to replace the brake pads, and these things are already bedded in, and I'm going to be doing some other troubleshooting on the bike, especially because I'm going to be going through the carburetors and valves and everything that I don't think I should actually switch these yet. So I'm going to keep these packaged up, and it's not like it's a quick, you know, $25 disposable like some kind of car brakes are. These things aren't cheap at all, so it makes sense. I'm going to hold on to these for a bit until I know I got everything running. I'll wear these out a bit more. They were working totally fine, unlike the rears, and then I'll have this spare set of brake pads ready to go. So I thought better about taking a pick and trying to clean out that dust seal area. What I did is hit those areas with some brake clean to soften everything up. And I remembered I've got these plastic razors, and I was able to get most of that big stuff out. The rest of it's just surface tarnish for the most part, so a lot better, and I feel better about not potentially nicking something up this way. So now it's time to reassemble this cleaned up caliper. So I did the other one, and I found these were probably my worst 2 pistons. So there's that scoring on here. I don't feel it, but if there's a coating on there, that's going to be the most likely spot to start taking some corrosion and whatnot. So these 2 I'm going to keep as spares. I'm going to open up my new thing of, well, everything for the rebuild of a single caliper. I'm going to be reusing the brake pads. So I will have my new pistons. I'll get these out. Haven't figured out what to do with the packing peanuts yet. And then I will have 2 new pressure seals and 2 new dust seals and 2 new boots and a new bleeder, which comes with this the one that loops under the bleeder itself, which I really actually prefer, as opposed to just that little cap on top. So I'm going to set some of this up. Alright, so here we go. Time to install the new seals. I've poured myself a little bit of brake fluid, some new fluid, and I'm just going to go ahead and throw my seals, my fluid seals and my dust seals right in there. To lube them up, we're going to throw that fluid seal in first. I'd been thinking that these fluid seals were directional this whole time, and I cannot feel a difference. Inside of here, there's a tiny little lip on the fluid seal area. It's like a little bit of taper, and I think that when you put the seal in, you can feel a little bit of a lip. I always thought it was a taper, but I'm pretty sure these seals are square. I tried it on the other one, flipped them up and down. I couldn't feel a difference, but that taper bit, when the pressure pushes on it, it'll flare out that rubber, and that's what creates a seal. So I don't think they are directional, after thinking that they were directional always. So the fluid seal's pretty easy. Should be able to line it up. This one's not gonna crisscross over itself too bad. You really probably won't get this one twisted up too bad. Alright, so that is in there now. So when I run my finger from the bottom of the cylinder backwards, I can feel that lip. I always thought that was a taper. If I go the other way, I don't feel it. But I think it's because of how that cylinder is bored. So now I'm going to grab one of my dust seals, and this one is more likely to get twisted up inside of here. Okay, I just got it seated in. But make sure that thing is seated in and all of it is square and not twisted up. Then we've got the new pistons. These are the old ones. These are the new ones. So it came with some kind of light glazing or something, but I am just going to lubricate it up anyway. And then we will line it up. It shouldn't take a ton of force, I've found. You just want this thing to go in as square as possible. So I get it past the dust seal a bit. So now I can feel I just started to hit the fluid seal. And I'm just slowly going to work it in. If I feel a ton of pressure, then I'm going to back it back out. One thing that threw me off a bit is the spring clip here makes a little metal on metal noise if it hits it. So I kept doing it over and over because I thought I was hearing metal. There we go. Not going heavy. And in. And I'm pushing that bad boy all the way down. And that is one of the pistons in. I'm going to get the other one in, and then we'll keep going. Alright, time for the boots. This is the only place I'm going to use any red rubber grease. Just put a little bit through here just to help me get that rubber piece through. This rubber boot just pushes right through there. And then all the excess I will just wipe right off. You want to use that red rubber grease because it is safe for rubber. And then actually this Permatex is claimed to be safe for rubber, and I actually prefer this in most of the other spots, so that's what I'll be using. And then I'll just push it through like that. And there it is. You should see that. Wipe off my excess. Alright, one of the boots installed. So this needs to go in like this. Now I cleaned this piece off, so I will need to re-lubricate it. I'm going to use my Permatex purple stuff, be pretty liberal about it on these two surfaces, and I'm gonna wipe off all the excess afterwards. Alright, so I've got that bore filled up, and I've got these two parts greased. I'm going to push through. Then remember that I forgot to put my rubber boot on this side. Put that on first. Alright, now that that boot is on, line those up. Come on over. Then I need to get the rubber boots over this bracket piece. Whatever it is, this bracket piece, that sounds like it makes sense. Now I need to get the pads in. So let's take you, and I gotta get the ear under there. You can go right up against that. There's my other pin. We're gonna need you in a second. Alright, and the second pad, put up here, and it's got to be on a certain side of these two little lips of that spring clip. So I'll keep it out here, because then it won't slide any further up. Alright, so that's good. Then I'm just going to put the lightest little coat of grease on here, just to help it slide a little bit and protect it. I don't actually see people do that every time, and I don't know if I should be, but that's as heavy as I'm going on it. So I should be able to bring this over, line it up, push it down onto the spring clip, send her through. Oh God, why? Okay, I found it. And then a little clip, push on through. Make sure that's all the way down. It is. Sweet. Okay, so we got that. Last part, we've got a new bleeder. I like this kind where you get the cap under it if you put it the right side up. And this will go in here. And I'll be messing with this later, so it doesn't matter what it looks like now. And that's it. It's put back together. So then I'm going to go around, clean up all the excess Permatex that leaked its way out. And then it's on to the master cylinder. Now I've really got no reason to believe that I should have to take this master cylinder off and rebuild it. In fact, I'm kind of really not wanting to, because it seemed to work just fine. However, it kind of seems like one of those things, if I don't check it, what am I missing? But in doing so, I'm going to disturb all these crush washers, so those will have to be replaced. Got to just take everything off, handle, and then go through this. The rebuilding of the master cylinder itself isn't very hard. It's just the work involved in getting it off. However, I do need to pull these forks off of this bike anyway, which is why I'm not actually going to put the front brakes back on until I pull the forks off, get the oil out, figure out what kind of emulator's in there, and then replace the fork oil regardless. So I don't like starting too many jobs at one time, but I think I'm going to, in this regard, take off the master, which means taking off the lines. It'll make getting around the forks a little bit easier. Rebuild this, and then we'll pressurize the whole thing back up. So I've got the master cylinder removed, and I'm going to be honest, I can't figure out how to pull this electrical connector off, so I just took the screw out that's connecting it because I don't need to do anything with this. And anytime you're dealing with these plastic connectors, if you don't have to take it off, then you don't have to risk breaking it. So I'm just going to leave that there. No need to take the reservoir off, just capped it off with the silicone plug. And I've got the master over here. So I'm just taking a look at, these are the parts that I'm going to be replacing. Rubber boot, and then the two seals here, one snap ring, and the spring. Here's the master cylinder itself. I don't think I'm going to have anything really too wrong with this, but might as well go through it and get it cleaned up anyway. So I know I'm going to have to pull this off. And this snap ring here, I'm looking at the instructions, and there should be an O-ring under here, and that is not a replaceable part, so I got to be careful not to damage that. I want to be careful. Oh, these are always so much fun. Okay. Now I should be able to pull that up. All right. So I need these. Now, it says I need to get that O-ring out of there. Can I do that softly? Oh yeah, okay. There's the O-ring. Alright, so a little bit of gunk in there. That's stuff we want to get out of it. I know we're going to have another snap ring, and that's going to be under here. Oh, that was cool. That usually doesn't happen for me. Now this one, this snap ring, I know is going to be even harder than the last one. There we are. All right, now, is this going to look all grimy and gross like my Interceptor's was? That looks pretty good. Might not need to be doing this. In fact, I know I didn't need to be doing this. But now I know I didn't have to be doing this. So I'm going to get this cleaned up. I'm going to run it through there because I got some hot water ready for it. And then I'll reassemble it. There it is, all cleaned up. Probably didn't have to do it, but now I know it's done. So time to start putting it back together. This is the old piece, this is the new one. Unfortunately, it's not a one-to-one OEM versus OEM replacement because this is a Brakecrafters one, but these do start to get compressed after a while. It feels super pliable and actually is probably fine, but I like to keep all the old stuff. I actually washed it through. And now it's time to put in the new one. So It's going to go in like that. So that is there, like so. Line it up, and that's going to go in this way. And this is what I was talking about with that taper earlier. You can see these pressure seals they're smaller diameter on the non-pressure side, bigger on the other, so when the fluid pushes on it, it doesn't blow past it. Instead, it swells and it doesn't allow fluid to go past it. That's what helps it build that pressure. So that's going to go. Ooh, I might have to put some brake fluid on this to help me push it through. So that is in there now. I'm going to do the same on this guy. That would go in like so. Can I get that? Okay, so that will go in. Then, tricky part. I need to get, oh, I got a new snap ring with this. This is the part, oh, I should grab my glasses so I don't get fucking slapped in the face by a flying snap ring. Get my snap ring in. I just nail it. Okay, and then this part is where we need that red rubber grease. I'm going to grease up the inside of this thing. You want to use this red rubber grease because this plays nicely with rubber, unlike some other stuff like that Valvoline, synthetic, or other greases that aren't going to be nice to rubber. Okay. Then I get to fight one more snap ring. Oh, this will make it. Ha 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 ha. Usually easier to put it in than take it out. Come over the top. That's the old piece. And that is rebuilt master cylinder. Well, that'll wrap this one up. I'm not going to put the front brakes back on yet and bleed them because I'm going to be taking the wheel off and the forks off soon, so I'll just be undoing everything I did outside of building up pressure in there. Got the master cylinder back on, ready to go. Waiting on seal kit for the rear brakes so I can rebuild those, put those back on with pads that actually have pad life on them. Probably should replace the rotor at this point, but I don't know. Not doing that quite yet. I did just buy a carburetor kit for the carburetor. Not that I'm going to go through and actually change jets or anything, but I was kind of worried about the float bolt gaskets if I pull the things off and then I need them. I might as well just have them on hand. So needle valves, float valves, that kind of thing. Probably be replacing some of those. So that'll come off next and then do the valve adjustment while I'm there. And then basically through it. That's easy to say, not so easy to do. But if you watch this far, thanks for watching.